Hi, I'm Anthony Alder from Alder IP, and welcome to another episode in the IP series. Today we're going to be talking about an interesting topic, and it's about the infringement, in particularly, or the alleged infringement, of particular images using copyright. And specifically, we're talking about Pal World versus Pokemon. Pal World is a loosely based clone of Pokemon. What I'm going to be talking about in this video, and I want to stress, this is not legal advice, and I don't want people running off and saying that they can copy their own computer games or copy existing computer games just based on what I'm talking about here. If you have a particular question about whether your piece of software is infringing someone from a copyright point of view, I suggest you talk to a lawyer and get specific advice about that, because these things are very situational. What I'm talking about with Pal World is that Pal World is a loosely based clone of Pokemon. Pal World is actually, the characters look very similar to the Pokemon characters, but the main difference is that the Pal World characters are armed with guns, weapons, and stuff like that, where Pokemon is a very soft kids-based program, and they have the opposite philosophy, and that's mostly based because they lie with Nintendo and Game Freak. The problem is that this new game, Pal World, their characters are so close that it's arguable that they're being directly copied. Now, there are elements that when you look at the characters side by side, they look quite different, but when you overlay the models, there are very good points of similarity. And there's a number of people, particularly on the internet, who have done studies that try and show or demonstrate that the actual 3D graphic models have been either rendered exactly the same or rendered probably using an AI system to make them look very similar. Now, I stress, I don't have any evidence to do that, and I don't have any affiliation with Pokemon or Pal World. So my information on this is just limited to what I can find on the internet. But the important thing is here is to see, well, what is it that Pokemon alleges that there might be infringement by Pal World? Now, there's no trademarks being infringed, okay? Well, not directly. The word Pokemon is not used by Pal World. And also, you can see that Pal World have gone to lengths to try and avoid overlapping with some of this stuff. So they've never used any of the names, like they've never used Pikachu and all that sort of stuff. But what they have used is they have used sort of the overall impression of Pokemon. So they've copied the idea of Pokemon and then applied it to something else. Now, under copyright law, that's not an infringement. But if you go one step further, and I think, in my opinion, Pal World has gone that one step further, and their images are very, very close, and particularly the fact that the scaling of the models seems very similar and the rendering seems quite similar. I think they might have problems in copyright. With copyright, it is very much a close call because it's an interpretation of a judge at the end of the day that works out whether he thinks a significant portion of the work has been copied. So he puts the two models side by side and thinks, yes, I think these have been copied. Now, this is a judgment call by a judge, and we don't have anything to go on yet as to whether the makers of Pokemon Game Freak are actually going to do anything about Pal World or not. But it's quite clear there is considerable overlap between these two products, and it would be of concern to them. If you look at, I think it's on Game Freak's website, they published a press announcement about it. They didn't mention Pal World particularly, but they did mention that there was a copy or a clone of their game out there that they were looking at. And so it's really important, if you're a game designer, that you look at what you're being influenced by and what you're copying. Now, there's a big difference between influencing a character on something else and copying a character on something else. And a good example is there was a recent court case in the US about Dan Brown. Now, Dan Brown released a book. The book was the Da Vinci Code. Allegedly, it copied an idea of some similar books that were published beforehand. Now, the key concept was a bit of the religious undertones of the Dan Brown book, the Da Vinci Code. However, the thing was, yes, he admitted freely that he did copy some of the ideas or the concepts, but the individual interpretation of that was his own, which means there was no copyright infringement. And you might find that a similar case rises between Pal World and Pokemon. They both end up coexisting, but time will tell. And I look forward to hearing about this in the future. I hope this was helpful. If you need any more information about copyright, please contact myself or my team at Alder IP. I'm more than happy to help and walk you through the issues associated with gaming copyright. Thanks for listening.